Thesis number 12, Introduction. This thesis deals with the theology of the human person in relation to God, others, and the cosmos. It presents a coherent understanding of the meaning, value, and purpose of the human person. As a creation of God, a human person is primarily related to and is dependent on God, the Creator. Human beings are God's special creation. All other relationships are governed by this fundamental relationship with God. This vision differentiates Christian anthropology from any other secular or scientific anthropology. Number 2. In the Christian vision of faith, we live in a broken and wounded world. Many people find themselves and their lives rootless, observed, and devoid of any purpose, finding themselves thrown into a world without meaning and direction. They experience emptiness and alienation. There are also many who find themselves amid situations that make them feel worthless and without destiny. For example, caste-ridden society, slum, extreme poverty, unemployment, wasting disease, physical and mental disabilities, all these. So the Christian anthropology gives us a different vision and perspective. The human being is not thrown into a meaninglessness world, but placed on earth by a loving God with a purpose. Every human being is a subject, not an object or machine, a mystery that inspires reverence and love, not the observed existence that may be disregarded. Christian anthropology challenges us to rise above the material cosmics, the economics of production and profit, to the spiritual realm of mystery, love, and reverence. The Christian vision is more than just a set of beliefs or a way of life. It is a worldview. It is a worldview that shapes the way we see and interact with the world around us. From a Christian perspective, this perspective also allows us to see the interconnectedness of all things, recognizing that every action has a ripple effect on the world around us. Pope Francis strongly affirms this in both Laudato Si and Laudate Deum. Number 3. Humans are relational beings. Genesis chapter 1:26, it says, "Let us make humankind in our image." Our God is a communion of persons, Trinity. There is a mutual indwelling between them. God is not in isolation, but is relational and communion. Thus, human beings are created in the image and likeness, male and female He created them. Thus, human beings too are relational in nature. God created cosmos. God created humans. Thus, Genesis places the human person in a cosmic context, relating to the entire cosmos. Therefore, human person has a three-dimensional relationship. He is related to God, to others, and to cosmos. Gaudium et Spes number 12 tells us that God did not create man as a solitary, for from the beginning, male and female He created them. Genesis chapter 1:27. Hence, by man's innermost nature, man is a social being and useless, and unless he relates himself to others, he can neither live nor develop his potential. Their companionship produces the primary from the interpersonal communion. Number 4. The relational dimension of human is seen in their being the image of God. Human person is image of God, means he represents God, and likeness of God means he or she resembles God. Genesis chapter 1:26 and Gaudium et Spes number 12. This is the foundational metaphor that brings out the Christian understanding of a human person. Being in the image of God, the human individual possesses the dignity of a person who is not just something but someone. Thus, he is called to love, to serve, to praise, and to be with God. Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 357, says, Image of God can be understood in three dimensions: ontological, that is, intellect, will, and memory; secondly, functional, that is, taking care of creation; and relational, that is, being male or female. As the witness of Scripture, tradition, and magisterium makes clear, the truth that human beings are created in the image and likeness of God. Image of God is imago Dei, is at the heart of Christian revelation. The creation account in Genesis makes it clear that man is not created as an isolated individual. God created mankind in his image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. Genesis 1:27. God placed the first human being in relation to one another, each with a partner of the other sex. The Bible affirms that man exists in relation to another person, with God and with the world, and with himself. This perichoretic relationship is the relational aspect of the Trinity. God is not in isolation but is relational and communion. Human beings are connected in the image and likeness of God, which would imply that human beings too are relational in nature. According to this conception, man is not an isolation individual but a personal and essential relational being. To be created in God's image is to be created to love and to be in a relationship. That is why at creation God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." His image he created them, male and female. Genesis 1:26 to 1:27. For God himself is love and exists in relationship, God, Son, and Spirit. Number 5. Relational dimension, male and female as well as embodied and sexual. God created man in his image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. Genesis 1:1-27. Genesis chapter 5, 1-2. Man and woman are equally created in the image, God's image. Both are persons endowed with intelligence and will, capable of orienting their lives through the exercise of freedom, but each does so in a manner proper and distinctive to their sexual identity, in such wise that the Christian tradition can speak of reciprocity and complementarity. The created in the image of God human beings are called to love and communion. Because this vocation is realized in a distinctive way, the procreative union of husband and wife, the differences between man and woman, is an essential element in the constitution of human being made in the image of God. Embodied means we get tangible and visible form. We are extension of God, incorporated in the world. Embodiment allows us to locate ourselves within the vast universe. It gives us a specific identity as human person. Our location and our identity enables our reaching out towards others and to the world. The relation to the other human person, body, enables us to be a body gift to other. Human person created in the image of God exists as body and soul, is a being corporeal and spiritual. Though made of body and soul, he is a unity. Gaudium Spes number 14. Sexual, male and female. God created man and woman together and willed each for the other. The word of God tells us it is not good for man should be alone. Genesis 2:18. None of the animal can be man's partner. Genesis chapter 2:19-20. discovers woman as another, I share the same humanity. God created him to be communion of person, for they are equal as persons and complementary. Sexuality is life-enhancing relationship with other human person. Sexuality reveals to us that one can become an authentic human person only by relating to other and not in isolation from other. In marriage, God unites them in such a way that by forming one flesh, they can transmit human life. In this way, they cooperate in a unique way in the Creator's work. Gaudium et Spes number 50. We are created as sexual beings for two reasons. First, to and for love, which implies relationship. By creating male and female affirms complementary of the sexes, and for companionship. B, for life, which is connected to God's command and procreation. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Genesis 1:28. Number 6. Being able to exercise dominion over creation through work. Creation is God's gracious gift to till and keep, to care nature, make fruitful and become fruitful, not for dominion. Dominion, like God, would have dominion. God's dominion is always for the good of all, to bring the reality to such as state that God would see and say it is good. Everything is good. It is human responsibility to continue to maintain it as good. In God's plan, man and woman have the vocation of subduing the earth. Genesis chapter 1:28. As stewards of God. This sovereignty is not to be an arbitrary and instructive domination. God calls a man and a woman made in the image of Creator to share in His providence towards creatures. Hence, they have responsibility for the world, and God has entrusted to them. Pope John Paul II, in his encyclical Laborum Exercens number 4, stated is clear term that work is a fundamental aspect of human existence in the world. Through work, human becomes partner with God in perfecting creation. Work has a value because humans do it. In working to better the human condition, humans share in creative activity of God. LE number 9, number 25 and number 27. Because God also is at work. The relationship between creation and dominion is understood as stewardship dominion. Hence, dominion means humans have to work in order to take care of God's creation. Number 7. Being graced and being capable of exercising freedom for or against God and God's creatures. Genesis 1-3. Grace is the free and undeserved, gratuitous gift that God gives us to respond to His call, to become the children of God, adopted sons, partakers of the divine nature and of eternal life. Romans chapter 3, 21-26. It is the participation in the life of God. By baptism, the Christian participates in the grace of Christ, the head of the body. CCC 1997. Grace is God's rejuvenative, affirming, creative energy given so that we may use it to actualize the purpose of our life. According to Karl Rahner, to be graced means that God necessarily creates man with an inherent potential for grace. St. Augustine, in reaction to this heresy of Pelagianism, a heresy of works, the Pelagian proclaimed man's ability to do good and to remain free from sin by his own will and work without the grace of God. St. Augustine saw grace as a divine force within persons which which reorder their nature and give them the ability to do good, a help to the soul, recorrective of nature and restoring it to its ideal form. Then Jansenian heresy in the 17th CE emphasized the Augustinian grace as help to the soul to the extent that grace exercised complete dominance over the will. So St. Thomas protects the gratuity of grace, yet ensures that human acts are really human and not controlled by God, eroding man's free will. For Augustine, grace does not replace or destroy nature, but perfects it. Aquinas says grace built on nature. Hence, Pope Pius XII in Humani Generis number 4 says that man can, whether from prejudice or passion or bad faith, refuse or resist to impulses of actual grace. Freedom is intrinsic to being human. Freedom with responsibility is our concern. So freedom is exercised in the relationship between human beings. Every human person is a free and responsible being. The freedom is the right and absolute requirement of the dignity of the human person. Gaudium et Spes number 17. A human person is free to do good or bad, to destroy or to construct. God will not restrict our freedom. If we were not to be free, we would have been the puppets in God's hands, says Rabindranath Tagore. However, in our freedom, we fail to be responsible. Sin is a refusal of relationship with God, others, and the world. Number 8. We are all sisters and brothers capable of providing a new vision of fraternity and social friendship with the ability to dialogue with all people of goodwill. Fratelli Tutti number 6 and 96. When we look at the creation story, we notice that the only thing that was not good according to God in his creation was the solitude of man. It is not good that the man should be alone. Genesis 2:18. Hence he created a woman, affirming the fact of social friendship in humans. The Holy Father emphasizes the responsibility of everyone in openness and dialogue among all peoples, mindless of religion or nationality, to build a fraternal and a social friendship. In the dynamics of history and in the diversity of ethnic groups, societies, and cultures, we see the seed of a vocation to form a community composed of brothers and sisters who accept and care for one another. Fratelli Tutti number 96. Number 9. Jesus is the real symbol of the encounter between God and humans and reveals the mystery of authentic personhood. Gaudium et Spes number 10. A symbol is something that is real and points to the real at the same time. Jesus is human and shows the way to how to be authentically human. Jesus is divine and shows us the way to God the Abba Father. In Jesus, the divine and human meet. We see in Jesus our possibilities of being truly human. We see in Jesus the visible God made visible. In Jesus, the human's divine encounter has truly taken place. Christ shows us the way to move towards our ultimate destiny, namely divine. Jesus becomes a symbol, means he represents or stands between God and humans. We know that the human person is a mystery that cannot be totally comprehended. In the mystery of the incarnation of Jesus, the Word became flesh as a human. I and you, we all have flesh, and now in incarnation, divinity takes place. Thus, he represents or stands between the God and humans. Thus, by his incarnation, the Son of God has, in a certain way, united himself with each man. Gaudium et Spes number 22. In Jesus, we know who God is and who we are. Thus, Jesus is the uh, perception to understand the mystery of human beings. Gaudium et Spes number 10. He was just like us except sin. Hebrews chapter 4:15. Thus he becomes a real symbol of the encounter between God and humans. Authentic personhood. In order to overcome the battle between good and evil, worldly ways and God's ways, worldliness, higher quest, secularism and faith, the Christian looks up to Jesus to show the way to be authentically human. Jesus is the way that leads to the truth of life in God. The Christian believers the Christians believe that the key, the creator and the purpose of the world's, the whole of man's history is to be found in their Lord. Beneath all that changes, there is much that is unchanging, namely Christ, who is the same yesterday and today and forever. Gaudium et Spes number 10. Karl Rahner, in his Theology of Grace, held that in Jesus Christ God has communicated himself to us in an absolute and irreversible way. Through God emptying himself in the Logos, humanity is offered participation in the life of God in a new and permanent way. Saint Teresa of Avila, in her book of life, notes that we can enter into the knowledge of the triune God only in and through the sacred humanity of Christ. Gaudium Spes number 10 indicates Gaudium Spes number 10 indicates that in this world of concern we often miss out on our authentic personhood, which only in Jesus can be found, the key, the focal point and the goal of man as well as of all human history. Authentic personhood is embodied in being the image of God, acting freely towards doing God's will and love and living in communion with others. Number 10. The Church's approach to various issues suffering human existence is based on a distinctive theological understanding of humans. Gaudium Spes number 12 to 17 and 22. LE number 9, number 25, number 27 and SRS number 29 and 40. So we'll look at one by one. First, Gaudium et Spes number 12 to 17 and 22. It issues including the dignity of the human person, the value of human culture, and the Church's role in promoting justice and peace are addressed in these numbers. Then GS number 12 to 17, Church in the Modern World. It speaks of the dignity of the human person. Then GS number 22 speaks of the special role of Christ, the new man, in restoring human dignity. Leverum Exercum LE number 9, 25, 27 talks about the Church's teaching on the dignity of labor, the rights of workers, and the ethical dimensions of the economic activities. LE, that means laborem exerin number 9. It speaks about work makes us more human. LE number 25 says, in both work and rest we share in God's activity. Example, Jesus was a carpenter, Paul was a tent maker. Then LE number 27 says, in work we are united with Christ in the redemption of humankind. Then SRS, full form is solicitudo rei socialis. So once more I'll pronounce societudo rei socialis. Number 29 and 40 says it addresses the church stand on global solidarity, economic justice and development. Then SRS, same thing, 29, it says human person is called for progress in totality and not only in economic progress. We cannot ignore our bodily and spiritual care. So SRS number 40 speaks of solidarity, called to be in solidarity and related with the others. Number 1, I think this is explanation of this Fratelli Tutti. Number 1, the recent discoveries in the natural and human science provide new opportunities to deepen the Christian understanding of humans, while also giving rise to the serious questions like a throwaway culture. Fratelli Tutti number 18 to 21. Pope Francis acknowledges the advancement in the natural and human sciences. These discoveries includes insights from fields such as biography, psychology, sociology, and environmental science, and etc. The Church recognizes the importance of the energies with scientific knowledge to enrich its understanding of the world and human existence. Pope Francis uses the term throwaway culture to describe the societal mindset where certain individuals or groups are marginalized, disregarded, and treated as disposable. This culture is manifested in various forms, including economic disparities, social exclusion, and disregard for environmental sustainability. The globalization of indifference. E.g. number 54 means Evangelium Gaudium number 54 and Fratelli Tutti number 30. Economic of exclusion it speaks. E.g. number 53 etc. In Evangelii Gaudium number 54, Pope Francis criticizes a phenomenon where people become indifferent or apathetic to the sufferings of others, means not being sensitive to the others, particularly in the face of social and economical equalities. When people between rich and poor, there is vast difference. In Fratelli Tutti number 30, Pope Francis expands on this idea of a throwaway culture and a culture indifferences, pointing out how these attitudes contribute to social exclusion and inequality. Economic of exclusion. Evangelium Gaudium number 53. Economy of exclusion is a term used by Pope Francis to condemn economic structures and contribute to the marginalization and exclusion of certain individuals or groups. It reflects the Pope's commitment to advocating for the economic system that prioritizes justice, solidarity, and the dignity of every person. He emphasizes that such exclusion are contrary to the principles of justice, solidarity, and the common good. These discoveries also raise many questions about moral life, interpersonal relationship, God's purpose for human life, creating atomic and biological weapons for mass destruction, abortions, exploitation, injustice, dominion over the weaker section of society, etc. Modern technologies are not only offer new effective treatments of diseases, however, but also the potential to alter man himself. The availability of the feasibility of these technologies lead new urgency to the question, how far is a man allowed to remark himself? The exercise of responsibility stewardship is the area of bioethical requires profound moral reflection on arrays of technologies that can affect the biological integrity of human being. Modern scientific techniques like human cloning, stone selling research, artificial intelligence, human genome editing, and genetic engineering, robot ethic, all these. So, some of these scientific attempts promote the idea of man as a co creator with God, but ontological status as creatures made in the image of God imposes certain limits on our abilities to dispose of ourselves. The sovereignty we enjoy is not an ultimate one. We exercise certain participated sovereignty over the created world, and in the end, we must render an account of our stewardship to the Lord of the universe. Number 12, that is conclusion. The Imago Dei concept helps us to present the relational and indeed personal conception of a human being. It is precisely this relationship with God which defines human beings and finds their relationship with other creatures. The human person is indeed a wonder, a marvel of God's creation. Being created in the image and likeness of God, human person is a mystery. The end of human existence has been expressed and different